Hey, thank you so much for joining me, Polina here, chatting to you a little bit about this moon coming close to Saturn and becoming full in Pisces. This is going to occur on the 30th, 31st of August. So this is the very, very final moon for certain projects. As you know, full moons are about completion, and to a degree, this is it. Like this is like the final strand. This is the final, like the final outcome, or this is the last time something happens for some people. Moon bound to Saturn is a very, very difficult time in certain charts where a person has their moon next to Saturn. There's usually difficulty. There is some kind of a question mark that keeps on pursuing a person. There is also lack of confidence and a lack of charm or charisma. So, moon is a very magical element in the chart. When it gets close to Saturn, a lot of it is gone, and there is just cruel, harsh details. And sometimes these people lack empathy or compassion for others, or there could be a very discompassionate or not very favorable time in their life that comes over in waves, so they have a regular feeling of depression or a certain type of lack. But this moon is actually very good for finding the details and understanding the key events of someone's life. So it's a very, very nice time to understand that certain things don't need any more work. Maybe there is harm done by certain world events or by certain thinking patterns within the psyche of the individual. It could be very, very easy to solve things, as Virgo is helping us during this particular time to solve things, and she wants us to get things right. She's caring for us. So the sun is looking for the details. The sun is looking for something that we can keep later. The sun is looking for something that we can do, and it's all about joining the dots. It is about finding answers, it is about troubleshooting, and it's about tasking, and it's also kind of about knowing as to what's wrong and how to fix it today. So if you wanted to, you could get surgery during this time. A small surgery could make a big difference in certain people's lives. It's a very, very good sky for very, very clinical thinking patterns and big karmic events in one's life being apprehended by very unsentimental and stoic facts. So it's really, really good to check in with different systems. These could be your biological systems, and I always urge people to look within, meaning also looking within their own bodies and solving their own problems, as well as going forward and doing things on a whim, because sometimes there are no karmas and there are no structures that are unable to be lifted. So this is a very interesting thing about Saturn moon. Sometimes it is beyond Saturn. So it is beyond density and beyond hardship for certain people. So for some reason, also people with Saturn and moon conjunction in their charts, as I am as well, sometimes have an incredible ease lifting things that are very, very hard to lift, or doing jobs that are very, very hard to do, or making friends where it is impossible to make friends. So in certain cases, it is going to be very easy to lift the blinders and lift certain tasks and systems, and to finish large karmas and large burdens of work in a very, very short amount of time. Time doesn't matter when moon is near, so Saturn rules time and structure, and sometimes it is very, very compassionate as to how certain things get solved, especially during a quantic jump, which the moon will be providing. If you wanted to, you could start in the middle, try to solve every problem as it comes. It is very, very good to also have the skill now to be able to solve something, to understand what that skill really means, also to somebody, to share wisdom, to share skills. But it's not really about being a worker, as it is kind of about being compassionate and also being able to help. A lot of Virgo at this point is about true healing and compassion, as it is just the early degrees of Virgo. It's not yet so harsh on the details. It's not so hardcore about making things happen or doing things right. It is more like about holding things together and holding matters close. So some people might have a lot of heart involved in their current ventures, and they might have to disconnect from that energy, which is still working with like a cruel factor of life. So if, for example, people are thinking about financial gains a lot, or they're thinking about looking like somebody in front of somebody else, or there is a certain type of cruelty and a lack of compassion maybe to some people as being pretty obvious last few days. And this is a culmination where you really, really see the forest for the trees. So, for example, if you have a friend and they're not very compassionate and they're running away from everything you're saying and they don't care about what you do with your life and they don't really help you, it could be a very, very easy snip. So snipping things out of the picture, so that means doing things that are less likely to fail as well. Saturn likes to break things down, so sometimes when you're feeling something, that's it. Like, it's enough that you're feeling it, and you don't have to have a talking to, you don't have to reconsider. Sometimes your feelings and your gut feelings and your emotions might be the only cause and effect of a certain type of departure. So quite a lot of people might depart from family, friends, communities. Different types of also disease and vulnerabilities might be very easily healed during this time. People might not want to contend in a certain way. They might not want to continue pushing that burden up the hill. They don't want to push that cart too far. They don't want to make too many changes or run too many errands, and it's getting expensive, it's getting emotional, or it's getting just untrustworthy. So there is like a very, very cold and cruel heart also, or a very, very cruel and heartless disposition that might kick in during this time as a contrast to this compassion, as we do have Venus in retrograde in Leo behind the Sun. We also have Juno next to her, and we do have Black Moon Lilith very close to the Sun, trailing behind. So this is going to shift perspective for some people, and you're going to really, really, really have to see when somebody else cares very little about you, if somebody else doesn't like what you're doing, if you get a lot of frowning or a lot of sort of like a lot of teeth during this time from somebody else who has once been very compassionate to you. Also very easy to outstay your welcome in certain situations and territories. So quite a lot of people maybe have been sort of buying time somewhere, and they've been kind of helpful and they've been kind of nice and naive, but they also haven't really been full of energy, or they haven't been full of essence enough to really fill a job. Like, they don't really want to be in this place, or they don't want to be in this job. They're just doing it because it pays the bills. So there is quite a lot of cutback. So it's very, very easy to be also followed. So for example, if you have cameras in your workplace, or if you have any kind of surveillance where you are, and people might go over what you've said and done, people might remember facts about you, and certain things might be in a distance for a really long time. So that's something that this particular time might also solve for certain people. Maybe you might see now that a certain job or position in life is actually condescending to the amount of potential and willpower that you have, or you might find that a certain friendship or a way of life is not epic anymore. So it's not just about epic, it's just about like what you do and do not involve in, what you do and do not invest in. Is this clear enough? Is this crisp enough? Is this good enough? Is this actually going to lead you to anything else? And for many of us, there is a after effect of something or somebody in our lives, So, like, say, for example, you've spent a lot of time with somebody and it just made you sad. Or, for example, you've done everything that you thought you had to do, and the more that you do something, the less you are reaching your target. So we have to understand where there is like a quicksand situation, or where there's a very, very powerful dream that you're living that is going backwards rather than forwards. Also, it is about fresh, up and coming. We have to understand how time works and how progress works. We are in rabbit here, and the insights are deepening. We want to have a fresh, beautiful, new life. We want to refresh our thinking patterns. We want to be very, very healthy, and majority of people that I know want to experience something that they haven't experienced before, or they want to at least have something new in their life that they can call their own. So it's about real, true life results, and having a real fresh start, or a really, really good relationship. So if you want, you can study with somebody who actually has reached those heights. It's very, very easy to also be compassionate during this time to somebody that doesn't know something. So, like, for some professionals, for some people that have reached a real genius, or like a real true momentum of success, it might be very, very easy and healthy to share right about now. And we do have North Node moving closer to Chiron, and there is a really deep and significant need to also give back something that you wanted to say, and you wanted to give. So in some cases, not every case, but there is going to be a true worker bee, a true community person, a true vivid and living battery for other people. So I'm not saying this is necessarily good or bad. It's just some people are really, really altruistic during this time, and they want to just seed as many seeds as they can. They want to give away their ideas for free. They want to be somebody, and also they want to play. And in certain cases, that is real, and there is real energy and there's real hope. But please connect to the heart first. We have a very, very deeply altruistic and necessary, maybe, community growing during this time. It's very, very easy to be part of a group or part of a gang that wants the best for the world, a utopian vision of life, maybe a very, very sincere care. Maybe there's also like some religious communities or some New Age communities that are wanting to apprehend world results, world global problems. They want to change people's lives, and that's great. So this big savior, the savior complex, as they say also in some cases, is great. But please consider, did you really have the skills? Did this really make sense on both ends of the equation? So for example, if you're spending time with somebody who seems to really want to save and nurture you, maybe consider the fine print, or are they really getting what they're saying that they already got? So of course you don't need to be lectured on this, but you probably know there's lots of schemes out there, people telling you that they can help you manifest something in their life they don't have. So for example, there's lots of money gurus or relationship gurus, twin flame gurus, all of this, or just people that say that they have found something that they didn't actually find, and then they're telling you how to get there yourself. So that could be it. And also another way, if you are really altruistic during this time and you suddenly feel like you're possessed with this wisdom and you want to speak and you want to change the status quo, or you have some very genuine, real, and innovative ideas, it might be very, very great to hold up. So, for instance, if I were to start giving away my ceramics pieces, I'm making a lot of ceramic pieces in the moment right now. That would be kind of a non-event eventually, or my stream of creativity might run dry. But for example, if I cultivate more meaning and if I make these pieces with more finesse, or I understand clay better, the material better, it might be worthy to keep these around for a few years and see how they change, or how the context of my work changes throughout maybe even my lifetime. I've been making art for a long time. Yes, I made that thing. Somebody asked in the comments one time, did I make that? Yes, I did. This I didn't make. I got it from a native community just a week ago. I just thought I'd wear it on camera. Means a lot to me. So anyway, never mind. Let's go back to life results and these different systems that we're trying to improve during Virgo. So this particular moon is going through Pisces. It's going to be a very, very dark time for some people if they don't really see the truth or the worth in their commitments. So going day in, day out to the same places, being at the same party again, it's like a Groundhog's Day experience. It's not just that, there is a meaninglessness and a grayness that naturally occurs in Virgo, and also Rabbit Year is kind of like that. There's a lot of meaningless energy there. And Virgo and Rabbit actually have very similar qualities. It's about getting things done, it's about being safe, it's about functionality, it's about having a crisp life and a really well designed life results. And in some cases it's going to lead to madness. As I did say before, Rabbit has kind of a dark night of the soul feeling, and certain people understanding they are hitting finity. It's finite, that's it. Like, say, I can't get out of this job, or for example, I can't get out of this friendship, or I can't get out of this country. So we have this very, very strong Sebo Palace and Mars, and Makemake also, and also I suppose Mercury retrograde close to the DC section of the chart. The DC is the opposite of AC, so it's the descendant point as opposed to the ascendant point. Ascendant is your presence and your first impression, or your edge, And then the DC is kind of like quote unquote death or the exit. So how to predict what happens in the last years of someone's life. We just basically look at the DC, and also how to predict certain hereditary diseases and powers that be that could be eventually leading a person to the next experience after parting this world. You can see it in the DC point. So we have Mars there, and as I said, Make Sapo Palace, and Mercury retrograde. So there is a very, very deep sentiment, and also very heroic, very peaceful, but also very kind of flamboyant energy as to parting ways. So maybe there is like a lot of guilt, or a lot of gut feelings in terms of departures. Maybe people feel very, very risky, very ashamed about their life, or some of that which they've been in a habit of. It is very, very likely that certain people are going to part our game, or there's going to be a disillusionment about or what once was. So in terms of like heaviness during departure, or like a scream to depart, as we also have Neptune across from Mars during this time, Neptune being almost on the ascendant line there, there is a really, really big need to culminate results. And yes, as I said earlier in the reading, there's going to be a definite ending to some things. Pisces takes things in and doesn't give them back. So it's kind of like, if you can imagine, things just get lost. It's very easy to get lost. It's very easy to also be gone. And it's easy for certain things to just disappear out of you, and also to be out of luck in some ways. But like on a lighter side, Mars is pushing towards conclusions. The DC is a conclusion and a wanting of a different life. It's a wanting of a completely different game. It's a wish for a total changeover and maybe a complete shift in one's consciousness, or a total exit of some things in one's life, or a deep commitment to something else, maybe opposite to even who you are. And like a deep scream, not necessarily for change, just to leave. So if you have that going on, if you are really, really ravenous and you have to end things, and you feel like there is a very, very deep, heavy, or like bulky energy that's kind of behind you, and you can't do it yet because somebody else is relying on you, or there's just no way to end things, maybe you have to wait. So in certain cases, it's very, very deep, like the phenomenal need to end a situation, to terminate a partnership, or to leave a job. But in certain cases, you've got to wait. Also, if you are very, very, very depressed during this time, very likely for some people to be incredibly depressed, and you feel like life has no meaning, things like that, please, please wait up and don't do or say anything, or mean anything very deep, because this is not going to be easy. And it's not going to be very straightforward as to how things kind of put themselves together during this time. It's sometimes not easier to leave certain situations, and it doesn't necessarily mean that you'll be karma free at the end of it. We also have a very, very deep trine between the earth signs there. So Pluto retrograde is kind of at a trine there with Jupiter, Uranus, Sedna. And also we do have Mercury, Sapo, and Pallas in Virgo. So there is a trine between the earth signs. It's not just that, well, it's not a perfect trine. I wouldn't call it a completely perfect trine. But I would definitely say that there is a real need for sustenance and vibrational clarity, and also a distance from things that are very Neptunian, or very, very thick, So Neptune is pulling us apart. Do I stay or do I go? Do I stay or do I go? Do I commit to a new person, or do I keep on going with my current person? There's like kind of an influx of frequency. It's almost like energy is being pushed, like pulled in and out. It's like, I'm sorry for the lack of better metaphor. It's like a plunger in the bathroom. It's like water being pulled out and pushed in. So this is the feeling between Mars and Neptune. Neptune rules water and the lymphatic system in the body. So there's like a very aggressive ending that can sometimes come when people don't understand how to necessarily live from this point on. So the DC energy is really big. The sun is building up to the DC. I will be talking next month about the equinox, the autumn/spring equinox, depending on the hemisphere where you are. and what it really, really means to be alive for some people, and also what it really, really means to be there. So places kept and people that are permanent in some spaces, my gosh, that has to end because we're going to go into a very brutal and very karmic month of Libra, inevitably. So we have to find out how we can also walk away from certain creative connections and certain understandings, as we're not going to be able to afford it. So it's just about being very, very careful and sometimes pragmatic and full of prose. Prose meaning the opposite to poetry, like full of clarity when it comes to relationships and your real ideas, and also how heavy are you on some things in your life, and do you really need those things that you keep on pursuing? Like, did you really need to take care of this energy? Did you really, really have to be part of this circle of friends? Did you really have to be part of this workplace? And we also have a lot of bright and young energy that says, sure, I'll do it. I'll do it at a drop of a hat. So as we prepare for the DC in September, as we go into the 21st of September, we hit the equinox point and the point between Libra and Virgo, and that's where the DC is, and that's where Mars is going to be actually during this particular full moon on the 30th of August. And as we build up eventually to the equinox, we have to really, really see it to believe how many question marks and how many different strange feelings we have gathered as also individuals and as a species when it comes to certain worldviews and certain worth and certain statements that people keep on making that they don't actually want. You know, how many people out there working jobs that they don't care to work, and how many people basically need to stop and reassociate and reconfigure. If you're really, really neat and strong, you have everything together, nothing wrong with a holiday. And also, why not? Virgo is a perfect time to conceive brand new ideas and to think of a world in a completely new and different way, and completely new and different potential. So as the cycle of time ends, or as certain types of events and I suppose loss and win become predetermined, and you see the chemistry behind the workings of life, and you see why not take part in something, and also why certain things cannot be taking part with you. It's very, very hard for certain people to have no doubt. So, for example, to now suffer certain clarity in terms of demise. It's like, wow, I can't do any more on this. It's like there is no way I can do this again, or there's just no way I can be a part of this person's life again. This real clarity that you don't need or you don't want to be part of something or somebody else's life, and real need for change or for karma to change. There's going to have to be a loss, and with us people, you know, in the present, we don't like that feeling. So what to do here, if you're really understanding that there are lots of also places and people to meet, I would trust that travel, having time off and dreaming, sleeping, or just having holidays is a really, really nice time for some in order to replenish their batteries, and start a completely different life, and to also avoid the dictator within. So the dictator within is underlined by this incredible Saturn retrograde, and also with Sun in Virgo, and also Venus behind the Sun and Leo. There is going to be so much like dictatorship over one's energy, and sometimes this can be a great drive. It's like, I'm going to start skiing again, I'm going to go to the resort and I'm going to give it a crack, or like, I'm going to go swimming in the water, or I'm going to try and find a friend at this new party, or I don't know, I want to start my own shop, you know. So this is like a dictator inside. There's like a very, very strong egoic or energetic force that kind of kicks in, but sometimes it can be to your detriment. People fight for things that never mattered. People do things that don't mean a thing. People take part in different types of tribes, and they have to reconsider many times over later on in their life as to what was I actually a part of, or what was I in. So like that's the worthless point. And why is because Saturn, my God, in Pisces retrograde is going to really kick in those feelings, and also loneliness and worth and worthiness, we have passed Black Moon Lilith significantly with the sun to be able to no longer care for the mystery and like the suave, tasteful, and sensual energy that she was giving us. So that sexuality or that emotionality was bigger than true life force. So in a way, the lunar personality or the dark personality, also the love of things that were kind of like frilly or I suppose unergonomic was really great. But we have passed Lilith and now we feel naked again. It's like I was feeling so sexy and seductive, and then after Black Moon Lilith is no longer part of plan, she's no longer attached to the sun. It's like, well, at the end of the day, it's kind of like people that spend on very expensive items or do really, really crazy things, and then they come back to themselves, and here they are, they're out of pocket, or they just spend their money or time, or they just haven't really been good to themselves at the end of the day. So there is like a clarity, sobriety, and credible need for sobriety, as we also do have Saturn in the sky. But that's kind of hard to explain because people don't really accept that. We do have also obviously Pisces in the sky, and the moon would have passed Pluto, Chariklo, Hygia, and Eros. So to me, it's very interesting actually. Like Pluto, just passing Pluto for the moon is this big mega drive. So 2 or 3 days before the moon, you might be feeling really spunky and funky, and it's like no matter what, I know, like for example, I don't really like the job, but I'm gonna go and do it anyway. Or it's like, yeah, I'm looking good today, So Pluto moon is going to drive people to extremes, but it's also going to aid with personality, presence, and charisma. And then we have Chariklo, Hygia, and Eros, and I have to say they're all in retrograde in Aquarius. So the moon is going to walk past this little stellium. And what is a stellium telling me? There's going to be a lot of choices and a lot of problems, and then maybe there's going to be sexual or emotional extremes, la di da di da, and things like kind of taking your time that you shouldn't necessarily have in your life. So the major theme to this moon conjunct Saturn also is meaningless experience, meaningless words, meaningless personalities, and meaningless gestures. And also it talks about the community. It talks about world events. It talks about the global way that people are looked at, the global way that people draw out their life experience, what they do for work, and what they do for entertainment. It's a very, very big scheme as to what we also have come through as possible during this time, and what we no longer have, and no longer also have as part of our personality. It's like before, you could have just sat there and self-medicated through social media. Now you cannot sit still and you cannot wait any longer. So we had been going a certain way, and now we won't. And maybe in some people's cases, they won't have any other choice but to stop certain patterns and also, yeah, risky business. But there's this thing, okay, this is also thinking pattern. We naturally know that Pisces moon is coming. So Piscean moons usually for, so many years, so many decades, they're about choices, they're about sensitivity, they're about also fake things kind of winning and galloping away. For example, you could make a really good ad for your product, and the product is not that good, but like the ad is so mysterious and it's so tasty that everybody wants to buy your product, and then they don't say anything. Pisces takes and it's gone. So for example, you could usually have made money during this time that would just be put into your savings account. Nobody would know about it, even if people would be complaining about your product. So also fraudulent activity, I talk about this a lot. This is not going to be one of those months, luckily. If we didn't have Saturn in the sky balancing out this moon, it's very easy to take something and it is as good as gone. So things going missing. And also things being on foot. It's like, for example, a conveyor belt of certain ideas going to somebody else. Things going to someone else's house. You're not sure where they are. So like things go somewhere, they get lost, or they become trapped in some ways. Like a secret stash, a safe in someone's house. That's the reason that sometimes Pisces moon makes it feel kind of safe, because things are under the guise of the moon. We don't see them fully happening. There are certain phenomena that we don't actually have to really know about, but certain things get lost or stolen, or there is like kind of a ephemeral or mystical world covering up what is actually going on. And Saturn there in these degrees of Pisces is like, no, you don't. No, you don't. So maybe it's very easy to apprehend a criminal during this time. Also, it's very, very good to spruce up your bank account and to check the ins and outs. And with us here is faith. There's also like perhaps a certain type of glimmer of hope, or there is like a certain type of kind of like a policing personality that takes over this time, and we usually kind of let it slide. It's like, yeah, just relax and enjoy. And in some ways we can. And I said before, if people are very well protected and they have all that they need, maybe they can't push anymore at their job. There is a point of finity that's reached as we're getting closer to the equinox. It can't make it past a certain level. The contracted side of Virgo is not letting them push in some ways, and that's where you need to have a sleep. And for others, it doesn't matter. You know, it's not going to be that big a deal. If their karma is really good, it's just like, oh my God, sleep it off. And then, yeah, in some instances, yeah, I feel Saturn is going to, in a sense, protect us from fraud and fraudulent activity. It's also going to protect us from dreams that are whisking us away from total action or total involvement in certain parts of our lives. I feel that he's going to get us noticed also where we need to get noticed. He's going to help us get us together and get things right. Is this a good time for paperwork? Is this a good time to like sign off for a house, or I don't know, create some kind of deal? I don't believe you'll need to do that. So I don't think this is the kind of moon where you need a lot of real sound and real sort of hands-on action when it comes to anything like that, because it might not necessarily be true, or it might be resolved later. So in terms of also political activity, you might see something on the news that doesn't actually make any sense eventually. So they'll say something and then that information just becomes lost. And sometimes, you know, they like uncover a story and it looks like that story is gonna ding-a-ling for like 2 or 3 years, and then no, they're just gonna like subdue it because maybe some facts were wrong, or they have another strand of information. So it's also nice to get lost. It's nice to forget and forgive, and to some degree, a lot of people will need to just forgive and relax. And inevitably, sure, as we go on to next month, I will be doing a reading for next month after this video. We have to be a very careful bunch because there is so much protocol and paperwork and questions and have to-do lists and things like that happening for some people, but I will help you lift the burdens of that and see the month through. So thank you very much, enjoy, and I'll see you next time. Also have a look at my Patreon, sign up. This is probably gonna be the last few days that the dollar option is available, so I'm going to change the prices, and also the content is getting better, so have a look. And yes, hopefully I will see you next time. Enjoy, and please subscribe to my channel. Bye.